done?
He was very, we were both get it done yesterday, very much so. And you need, especially because government can bog down so easily, you need to kind of that relentless focus and mindset to keep pushing and pushing to get anything done. And he could do that. He was also, that whole World War II generation knew how to put country first. And so, I look at what's going on now, and the town just seems so captured. And back then, we had lobbyists back then, but they were in their place, right? So the power structure was, if you were in this, Congress, you were here, and lobbyists, you were here. And now it's changed. The power structure is different, and so many of these members of Congress just seem to be running scared, that they're afraid to alienate or offend anyone. And that's not what they're, they work for the public.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I came to Washington College was because it was small and intimate. I thought I could do things, I could have an impact much more quickly. I had also been interviewing to be president of the UMass system, and actually pulled out of that when I learned of this, because that would have been a very, very, that is a very, very large system, and you got 5 campuses, you're 2 or 3 steps removed from students, and I really, was interested in working with students and engaging. So yeah, same system. These big public university systems you have a great place in higher education, but it's a whole different job to lead those than it is for a small college. So yeah, I definitely found this to be much more attractive. I think people don't, and people in government, unfortunately, don't understand the relationship between freely available credit and asset bubbles. And it's ironic, and you saw parallels with the subprime housing crisis. The tragedy of that was it really only increased home ownership by a couple percentage points, which of course fell back down with all these foreclosures. But what it did do is load up a lot of families with a lot of mortgage debt and make housing much more expensive. Certainly on the West Coast, you saw that phenomenon. So you're seeing the same thing now with tuition, that the more freely available the credit is to pay for the school, the less discipline there is on schools to hold the line on cost. And it's been a particular problem. Everybody can do better, but it's obviously been a particular problem with these for-profit schools. And government needs to get smarter about, when they provide credit subsidies, they need to get smarter about making sure that there's value there. And I think you do that with accountability. I've been a longtime advocate and continue to be that colleges should have some skin in the game. So if their students default, they should have to share some portion of that loss. And I think that gives them an economic incentive to make sure students who are coming to their school can succeed, can get a degree, can get a job, can pay back the loan. Whereas now, these for-profit schools, was a volume-driven business. And you saw the same thing with subprime mortgages. So they had no skin in the game. Just get as many students in as you can to pay that tuition up front. Didn't care if they stayed. Just next year they bring in another big class. And you saw the same thing with subprime mortgages. Just originate as many as you can, shove off the risk to investors, get paid up front. And that's why you really need some kind of skin in the game requirement if you're going to have these kinds of credit subsidies, to make sure the provider that's benefiting from the loan programs has some interest in providing the value that the government wants, whether it's a house or a college education. Yeah. So if you look at the distribution of student debt, it's disproportionately with low, the high debt loads for undergraduates, the high debt loads and default rates are disproportionately with high financial needs students. And we actually have done pretty well here at Washington College. Our graduation rates for our Pell Grant students, which is typically a proxy for very high financial need students, is the same as it is for our broader student body. So I think Washington College deserves good pats on the backs for that. But we wanted to expand and build on that good record and have a program specifically for students that are very high achieving, but have, just can't afford a small liberal arts college. So, but retention is always an issue, and so and looking at statistics generally about when students attrit, financial need is a factor. So, and then also, if you look at the national studies of first-generation students, social isolation can also be a factor in whether they successfully complete. So, since those seem to be the two main challenges, we thought, well, we'll just discount and get scholarship funding to provide full financial need, tuition and room and board, but we'll also address the social isolation piece of this with a lot of support programs, but also allow them to put groups together with their friends, working with their high school counselor, and apply as a group. So when you come, and we'll evaluate and admit you as a group. So when you come here, you'll come with a couple of friends, and it can be scary coming from Baltimore City or the DC area or Southern LA into rural Chestertown, Maryland, and having a couple of people who you already know, who share your life's experiences, have them be with you for that transition and that journey. I think it's just going to be much more reassuring and easier for them. Yeah. So we're, I think, probably particularly of interest to Chestertown. We're looking at 3 projects on the waterfront. So the boathouse, we're fundraising. We're very close. I'm hoping within the next 6 to 12 months we'll be able to start to put a shovel to the ground and get started on that. The Armory, we've brought some architectural firms in to give us some options. We're mulling those over, and we will, be pursuing those over the next year or two. And then finally, longer term, I think we would very much like to have a research, environmental research facility, an academic building that's specialized in some of our environmental research programs, which we really need waterfront access. It's kind of scattered all over town now. So I think those are the 3 projects which will coordinate with the city in terms of what they're doing with the marina. And I think over the next several years, I think you'll have a very, very nice development.
Do you feel like there's movement where we could connect the dots a little bit more with the town and the college?
I think we need to focus on growth opportunities. I think, we need to expand the pie, not redivide the pie. I think that you start redividing the pie, then you get into contentious kinds of things. And so I think the growth opportunities are absolutely where we need to partner together. I think we're doing that already on the waterfront. There may be other revenue producing partnerships that we could pursue. So yeah, I think it's important to think in terms of growth though. And that's not always easy. Everybody says, yeah, that's right, but then it can be kind of scary, right?
Yeah,
so it's
there's no easy.
yeah, exactly. And understanding that typically new development is additive. It doesn't cannibalize what's here already. It's additive. And it's such a lovely community and so close to 3 major metropolitan areas. It's amazing to me. For instance, Washington, D.C., where I've spent most of my career, more people don't, know about it. Yeah. This is a lot better than St. Michael's, for heaven's sake. St. Michael's is lovely, but it's really congested. Yeah. And it's an easy drive. And so why we don't have more people with vacation homes from D.C., for instance. And I think the retirement community, too, we can probably I think harder about building that, and especially tapping into Washington College's alumni base to encourage this as a retirement place for our alumni. I don't think we've done it a little bit, but there really hasn't been a concerted marketing strategy to think about developing along those lines. Yeah.
I always thought that the town could use like an economic redevelopment corporation.
Right. I'm a 9-month resident of Chestertown, so. I think, I think having some wise men and women, in a coordinated way, think about that, and because it would, I think there does seem, just in some initial reactions, there does seem to be kind of a fragmented approach to economic development here, and trying to get a diverse group that can help build consensus, right? Because I think there probably may have been opportunities here in the past that were not pursued because you just didn't have that action forcing mechanism to bring people together and say, this is going to be in the interest of the town for these 5 reasons, and here are some downsides, but here's why we think the benefits outweigh those downsides. Just if you don't have that kind of methodology to develop cohesion, then you get a lot of fractious debate and inertia, and that's bad. That's very bad. Yeah. I think where we want to focus, we want to help the town, we want to help the community, we want to focus on growth opportunities, I think. And obviously we're focused very hard now on affordability, and so we're trying to get those student costs down. So I think I understand the emotion that led to that. I think we want to have construction conversations with the town that are focused on growth and producing revenues for the town based on growth opportunities. And I think we can do that. I think we can do that. And, but making sure we don't get ahead of ourselves and we move slowly and talk to the right people. And I think people react and oppose things when it surprises them, right? When they're not, they hear rumors that may or may not be accurate. So trying to socialize it and talk to the right people and do it very carefully in the stages and get the right input, I think is important. But yeah, I mean, I think there are some good opportunities to pursue with the town, especially along the waterfront, and maybe other areas of development in the community as well. And so, but then that's the conversation we hope we can have with the city. Well, the hospital, we're very concerned about the hospital. We are, I wrote a very strong letter on that issue. We are hoping to explore partnerships we could have with the hospital in terms of encouraging more of our campus community to use the hospital, our faculty and staff. Look, if we might have a partnership in terms of providing health services to students. Right now, we don't have the capacity to charge insurance companies. It requires a very expensive infrastructure to bill insurance companies. So instead, we charge a health fee to our students. But if we could partner with the hospital, because they do have that capacity, you'd probably give them more volume, which would help tether them to the town, I think, and also reduce our student costs. So, again, very, very preliminary ideas to discuss, but I think that could be a huge win if we could figure out how to make it work. But I just want to make sure, obviously, our students would always be protected and our employees would be protected as well. But that's, we very much want to keep the hospital here as a full-service hospital with inpatient care. That's important to our faculty, it's important to our staff, and our students have, unfortunately, occasionally our students have had need of using that inpatient facility, and we don't want to see it, we don't want to have to put somebody in an ambulance for an hour-long ride to someplace else. And I think, at least so far, so good. I think being relatively new, people have been open-minded and willing to entertain my suggestions and pursue some new initiatives, and I hope that'll continue. But there are a lot of competing stakeholders with the faculty, the staff, the students, the board, the town, the government to some extent, the Department of Education to some extent, so the press. And they frequently have different views about how I should do my job. So anyway, that's okay. That's okay. I'm always open to advice, and I may or may not take it, but I'm always open to listening. Well, the students are why I'm here. I mean, they really are, and that's why everybody's here, right? That's, when I was at the FDIC, we were able to, that was a demoralized agency when I got there. And this is not. This is a very, we have a good morale and energy at this college, but getting focused on what you're supposed to do, and it's about educating students, and really pretty much everything you do should feed into that. And you can have a broader mandate. I mean, obviously, a robust economy in the town will help recruiting faculty and et cetera. But you also, you don't make decisions based on romance. You need to make sure that is your core job, and you've got to put that first. And I think that's why I took the job. I think.